I still hear the sound of that drum. Its rhythm echoed through the village, louder than any heartbeat, carrying the weight of a tragedy we all tried to forget. But some wounds, no matter how deep they are buried, refuse to heal. And this was one of them. The story began on a day that seemed like any other. The sun was golden, casting long shadows over the dry, cracked earth of our village. The Dinka and Nuer clans had shared this land for years, though shared is a word spoken carefully. Our villages were close enough to hear each other's songs, yet far enough to avoid crossing paths. A silent border of grudges, bloodshed, and pride kept us apart. I was a young boy then, too small to understand everything, but old enough to know that the sight of Ajok, the Dinka chief's daughter, walking hand in hand with Kwa, the son of a respected Nuer elder, was trouble. They were striking together, their love as bold as the bright beads she wore around her neck, each bead a symbol of her heritage. His arm was wrapped around her, the way the Nile wraps itself around the land, strong, unyielding, inevitable. But love between the clans was forbidden, as unthinkable as rain in the dry season. And yet, there they were, smiling, whispering, alive with a fire that neither tradition nor fear could extinguish. The elders found out soon enough. How could they not? Ajok and Kwa, in their stolen moments together, had been seen near the sacred baobab tree that stood at the edge of the shared river. That tree was not just a landmark, it was a symbol of unity long forgotten, a place where peace talks had failed over and over again. Their presence there wasn't just love, it was defiance. When word reached the village, the air changed. The women fetching water at the well spoke in hushed voices, their bangles clinking softly as they whispered warnings. The men sharpening their spears under the acacia trees sat straighter, their faces dark with thoughts of revenge. My father, the Dinka warrior, muttered to himself, this will not end well. That night, the Dinka elders called for a meeting under the white sky. The flames of the council fire flickered against their carved staffs, the symbols of our traditions etched deep into the wood. They spoke of betrayal, of honor, of how Ajok had brought shame to her people. Across the river, I could see the glow of the newer fires, and no doubt their elders were doing the same. But Ajok and Kwa weren't done fighting for each other. They had a plan, foolish, desperate, and brave. The next morning, when the sun had barely begun to rise, they gathered the younger generation from both clans. My older brother, who admired Kwa's courage, was among them. They met by the river, where the water ran deep and fast. There, they spoke of ending the feud, of love being stronger than hatred, of a future where children wouldn't grow up knowing only conflict. But the elders had already set their plans in motion. As the young lovers made their stand, the warriors from both sides descended upon them. I remember the sound of shouting, the clash of spears against shields, and the cries of those caught in the middle. The sacred river, once a lifeline for our people, turned red that day. When the fighting was over, Ikwa was gone. His body, they said, had been taken by the river, swept away by the current. Ajok was dragged back to our village, her cries tearing through the air like a wounded bird. My mother held me close as we watched her pass, her colorful wrap torn, her beads scattered, her spirit broken. But that wasn't the end of their story. Days later, whispers spread through the village like wildfire, Ajok was with child. Kwa's child. It was both a blessing and a curse. The elders debated what to do, their voices rising like thunder in the night. Some said the child was a bridge between the clans. Others said it was a stain that could never be erased. When the baby was born, I saw him with my own eyes, the boy with the strength of both his parents. His skin held the rich tone of our lands, then his cry was strong, demanding to be heard. Ajok named him Nyaluak, which meant gift of the river in her tongue. She said it was Kwa's spirit that had carried him to her, through the waters that had taken him away. But the clans weren't ready for peace. Nyaluak became a symbol of hope for some, and a reminder of betrayal for others. Ajok raised him alone, her head held high despite the scorn she faced. And as the years passed, the boy grew curious, strong, and unafraid. He walked freely between the clans, asking questions that no one dared answer, bridging gaps no one dared cross. Now, as I sit here telling this story, I wonder if Nyaluak will succeed where his parents failed. The elders who once held on to the old ways are fading, and the younger generation is rising, tired of bloodshed and loss. Perhaps the seeds of love that Ajok and Kwa planted will finally bear fruit. But even now, and as the drums of reconciliation beat in the distance, I can't help but remember that day by the river, the day when love tried to conquer hate, and the river claimed